come over here because we got to talk about it. All right? I'm going to interview Lily Cole. She's the founder and CEO of Impossible.com. Thank you. And I'm going to ask her some questions and she's going to explain to you what this beautiful project is, okay? Now my first question is, there's a phrase that you throw around which is that kindness is currency, okay? Kindness is currency at Impossible.com. It's a gift economy. So my question to you is, a currency of kindness, what does that mean? What is Impossible.com? And what's the difference between, let's say, a gift economy, which is gifting, and barter? Because people always say, oh, that's just barter. That's just trading my coat for your coat. That's called barter, okay? Normally we use money. You guys, be quiet, please. This is important stuff, okay? So Lily, what does a currency of kindness mean? What is Impossible.com? Could you just explain that? Give us an overview for people who don't know. Thank you.
Very well. Hello everyone.
Hello.
Thanks for all coming. I quickly want to say, tonight has been made possible in large part through the gift economy. People have given the space, people have given the drinks, people are going to give music when we finish. Sean is giving his questions. You're all giving your time. And that articulates what Impossible is trying to do more often and more generally, which is encourage a culture of giving. Who here has heard of the gift economy before as a concept? A minority, yes. But who here has ever done something for someone else for free? A bigger proportion. Who has been given something for free, or someone's done something for you for free? So you're all part of it already. And gift economy is just a fancy academic word for it that lets us talk science and make sense of something that to me doesn't really need actually academics, it's really obvious. It's about doing things without the immediate expectation of return. So the biggest difference between what the gift economy is and what monetary or exchange economies are about is that I will do something for Sean, not because he's giving me something back, $1 or a hat or something, but because I can and because he has a need that I can answer. And by doing so, if we all do that, the idea is I become part of a community where one of you guys will do something for me. And through that process, we build a community, we build relationships, and that to me is a good thing.
That's beautifully said. Alright guys, listen, so she just said to you that all these drinks were given to us for free by friends. So let's be thankful for that and let's listen to what the lady has to say, okay? So why don't we just be a little quiet, be a little civilized. If we're gonna drink the drinks, then maybe we can listen to what this beautiful woman has to say to us, okay? So what she said is very interesting to me. We've all given gifts to each other. We've all received gifts from each other. A lot of the reason that Lily talks about naming this website Impossible is because people say it's not possible. This is not possible to have an economy based on kindness. We need money. We have to have capitalism and we have to have the system or else it won't work. We need what's called infinite growth, right? Economics and currency is based on GDP, gross domestic product, and we have to continually grow our revenue as a society in order to have a wealthy society. That's the basis of modern economy. So people say to Lily, this is impossible, so she named it Impossible, okay? So it's an impossible dream. But the thing that people don't realize is that actually 99% of your relationships are not currency-based, okay? The most beautiful relationships you have with your mother, your father, your friends, your lovers, you don't pay them to be in your life.
I hope you don't. And if you do, you should talk to us afterwards.
Or speak to me after the show.
We'll do it all for free.
So that's very interesting to me. There's a very beautiful quote by David Attenborough, which I'm sure you've heard. It's about economics, and he says, infinite growth on a finite planet is impossible. That's impossible. And that's the basis of our modern currency system, is infinite growth. We need to keep creating money. And money is actually a form of debt, okay? And debt plus interest means that there's always going to be more debt than there is money. So the future generations will have to pay more money than is created by the banking system, okay? So that in itself is actually impossible. That's an impossible situation. So when people say to Lily, this is impossible, a gift economy is impossible, I would say to them, actually, what's impossible is the current monetary system. That's impossible, because you cannot have infinite growth on a finite planet. That's impossible. So actually, perhaps a gift economy is difficult. It might be an unusual or radical idea, but I would say to those people who are cynical about this, it's actually more possible. At least it is possible, whereas the current system is impossible. So I'd like you to speak a little bit about that, or to elaborate on that, Lily. How do you feel, how has it been for you to explain to people who say, this is not realistic, this is a pipe dream, you're being unrealistic? For instance, you recently launched Impossible.com as a beta site at Cambridge. So I wanted to ask you, how did that go? How did the students respond? And do you have any anecdotes about a success with that initial beta site, which is the origins of this website? Do you have anything to say, any positive stories that we might have? Anecdotes?
So, nice interpretation of the name, I like it. We actually cross out the I in impossible. So if you look at the logo, it actually reads possible. And there's a conscious play there, which is, as Sean spoke to, the proposition that people would do things for each other for no obvious reason, like not to make money, is utopian or is impossible. And I wanted to challenge that idea because I see generosity all the time, and I think everybody is incredibly generous, maybe more so than we allow them to tap into. So that was the questioning there. We also play on it and say, I'm possible, hence the photo shoot area that says I'm possible. And in terms of stories, the stories are largely affirmative. So I started this process 3 years ago, and it began by me having conversations with people and saying, I have this idea. And again and again, people would say, I love it, like, how can I help? And interesting that the gift economy kind of built it, because people would say, I'll do the design, or I'll do the legals, or I'll do the PR. And now, 2 and a bit, maybe 3 years later, we have built a platform largely on that premise. We've launched it in the UK. We have now thousands of users, many of which are in the US, so sort of promoting it here. And they are doing these things for each other for no obvious reason. And again and again, I hear stories of very simple things, but the powerful social value that comes with very simple things when not done for no obvious reason.
Well, a lot of people who might think, oh, this is hippie economics. Actually, they might find it interesting that Ginny Wales, I'm sure you remember, all of my friends thought, we can't trust this because they're not paying people to do it. But now Wikipedia is the backbone of all research. I don't know anybody who doesn't go to Wikipedia to research a paper or to get their PhD. You always got to look at Wikipedia. Now we have to understand this is an anarchistic website. Anyone can join, anyone can put their information up, and everyone is doing it for no monetary reason. They're not coerced. Okay? So Jimmy Wales is actually an investor in Impossible.com, am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
it's not to make money, but to invest in the idea.
So he's actually one of the supporters. Another supporter of this website is Mohammed Yunus. Has anybody heard of Mohammed Yunus, who won the Nobel Peace Prize for microfinancing? Okay, this was another impossible idea. When Mohammed started this idea of microfinancing, everyone said, that's crazy, you can't lend money to poor people because they're not going to pay it back. But actually he won the Nobel Peace Prize for this idea, and he's also a friend of Lily's. So my question to you, Lily, is could you tell us a little bit about Ginny Wales and Mohammed Yunus, because these are 2 radical thinkers economically and business-wise, and how have they influenced you? Have you learned anything from that? I want to hear about Ginny Wales, and I'd like to hear about Mohammed Yunus.
So I met Jimmy and Mohammed Yunus 2 years ago. They're two of the most amazing men I've been privileged to meet who have changed our planet without being superfluous. They really have. As Sean just said, Jimmy made Wikipedia, which is the biggest gift economy in a structural sense that's been seen to operate at scale. It operates as a gift economy in most countries on this planet now. I'm sure. Who here's used Wikipedia?
Every day, we use it every day.
Yeah. And then Professor Mohammed Yunus, as again Sean said, won the Nobel Peace Prize for microfinance, which is arguably one of the most innovative economic structures the world's seen in a long time, and has lifted a lot of people in Bangladesh and elsewhere to out of poverty. And he has a second structure called social business, which is what Impossible is now legally structured as, which is the idea of blending the intention of philanthropy with the power of business. So Impossible is a business. We want to become sustainable, we want to make profit, but we will give 100% of that profit into our social mission and to fund other similar socially driven projects. And I'm inspired by the idea of combining business with philanthropy and seeing how powerful that force might be.
And I think a lot of the most successful business people in the world, like Warren Buffett and Bill Gates, they talk about integrating a social dividend into their business structure. So you probably hear about this a lot, where Warren Buffett, he's Coca-Cola, he's one of the biggest billionaires in the history of billionaires, okay? And I'm sure you guys all know who Bill Gates is, yeah? Okay, they talk about structuring social dividends into business, meaning that you're not just trying to make a profit, because right now the modern idea of a corporation is only profit structure. You have no motivation to give back to the community. You have no motivation to
sometimes they do a bit.
They can. I mean the definition of a corporation. And so the idea is to structure companies that have a social dividend, meaning they have a social consciousness that's a part of their operating system. And she's saying that Impossible.com wants to be profitable so that it can be sustainable and be positive for the culture. But the motivation behind it is not profit. The motivation is to benefit society, which actually brings me to another question that I have. Really, I hope we're not boring you guys. These vodka drinks are really good, by the way. Thank you for this. Yeah, does anybody have any questions for Lily about Impossible.com? We're going to take questions.
I have a question. Sean, I love your enthusiasm for Impossible. Can you talk about your mother's wishing tree project and how that might relate to your attraction to what's going on here?
Actually, I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to mention that. If you guys have noticed, in the middle of the room, there's a tree, and on the tree you can hang wishes that you have. And those wishes are the kinds of requests that can go into Impossible.com, and they're the kinds of wishes that can be fulfilled by Lily's company, by her website, by her community of people. And it's interesting because my mother actually, my mother is Yoko Ono. I don't know if some of you may know her as the strange woman that broke up the Beatles. I know her as a very beautiful artist and a peace activist, and she has an art piece that I think Lily is a fan of. It's called The Wish Tree, and what she does is she gathers the wishes of people from all over the world. They hang them on the tree, so the wishes are like the fruits of a tree, okay? They're like conceptual fruit. And the connection here is that Lily actually, I think she did her degree in art history at Cambridge. And I think she learned a little bit about people like my mom who did conceptual art. And I do think that actually Lily's in probably a better position than I am to speak to the connection between conceptual art, the wishing tree of my mom's, and Impossible.com. What's the relationship between conceptual art and what you studied at Cambridge and what you're doing now?
So I was very familiar with Impossible art. I hadn't seen the wishing trees when we started wishing bridges, all the times that concept plays into our cultural ideas. They're always to the universe. They're never realised. I mean, maybe they are realised if you believe they're realised in some way, but you're always just wishing and no one necessarily sees that. And so I quite like the idea of taking that and then trying to realise it. So we take the wishes down from the tree. If people leave their emails or their handles, we can invite them to put them into Impossible and show them to the community, and some of those wishes can be fulfilled. And the power of the beauty maybe is that they're fulfilled by one another. And it's saying that we can actually bring the magic to each other. You know, we don't always have to throw it up. We are able to do that. And it was quite beautiful after we started that process that somebody pointed out to me, we've seen Yoko Ono's wishing trees. And I actually went to see them in the park in London. I made my wish. And interestingly, the day I made it, I saw a wish that was on there that was wishing for a new economic system, which I thought was quite funny. And I did think it was a very appropriate context, knowing I'm good friends with Sean and knowing his philosophy, and I'm sure your mum is inspired by your philosophy. There's an interesting connection there.
There is. This man has a question.
Interesting connection.
Hi, my name is Jason. I'm the publisher of this great magazine. And my question to Sean and Lily, you guys are oftentimes talking about wishes. And it sounds like a movement pretty much that's going on. It's kind of a little different from what most would say is possible. Anytime there's a movement that goes on in the United States or in the world that people take a liking to, normally there's a soundtrack that abides or is synonymous with that. So tell me, if a musician wanted to be involved in this process and kind of push along this idea of wishing, or more importantly, capitalizing on the fact, no pun intended, that people wanted to be involved in that, how do they go about doing that, and how do they get in your faces to make that happen? Hopefully that will answer your question.
If I could paraphrase, I think what he's saying is he's asking how does this Impossible.com, the idea of the gig economy, relate to being a musician specifically?
Or how
Can I just say one simple note? I also think that musicians in general, we've sort of been forced into participating in a gig economy anyway, because we basically have to pick a winner for freedom in the States. I think we're at the forefront of the gig economy, musicians.
Oh yeah, and artists in general, for sure.
Really cool.
It's to shame, it's such a pain that I should have stayed. It means I am begging for your hand. I could say bad, even say goodbye. Each night we're drawn, it helps me tell you how good you are. Oh, I try to explain. By me, it's to shame. So you see, and so that you understand. Oh, you see, oh, you see. We always sing like this live electronic group, so that was quite a different situation. Martinez and there's a trumpet, so pretty good guitar. Is that coming through? I saw you, still my baby, baby. Seems like
Stop and just look into each other's eyes. And then tell him congratulations. Awesome, awesome.
Shit.